Hello students, hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to study the poem The Shed. So please take page number 48. Do you believe in ghosts and other supernatural creatures? We should not believe in baseless and imaginative stories about ghosts and other supernatural creatures. You all know that, as their stories are mostly used by people for their own benefit. Children and young adults therefore should not believe in irrational beings like ghosts and various superstitions associated with them. So the central idea of the poem The Shed is rationality and fearlessness. The poem teaches us that we should not blindly believe in baseless and imaginative stories. The poet successfully establishes these ideas through the characters of narrator and his brother. The narrator's brother fabricates a story about a ghost dwelling in the shed. So, in order to prevent the narrator from entering the shed and to keep the shed all to himself, he is creating a story of a ghost. The narrator starts believing the story and imagines someone staring at him every time he passes by the shed. However, the narrator does not believe his manipulative story for very long and decides to enter the shed. In your real life situations also, you might have heard or seen many haunted houses, haunted places, is it? People create all such stories in order to hide the reality. Okay children, now let's move to the poem The Shed. The poem is written by the writer Francis Stanislaus Flynn. He was a Northern Territory based Australian doctor, author and missionary priest. He is notable for his contributions to religion and medicine. He was born on 6 December 1906 in Sydney and he died in 29th July 2000. And his major works include Northern Gateway, The Living Heart, Don't Put God in a Box, Rebuilding the Beacon, Point Smith, Port Essington. These are some of his works. Now children, let's move to the poem The Shed. Do you know what a shed is? A cow shed, a tool shed, a wood shed. For example, it's a small room away from the main house for storing or keeping things, animals, tools, vehicles, etc. Ask your partner if she or he has ever seen a shed. Let her or him describe it to the class. Now read the poem. There is a shed at the bottom of a garden, with a spider's web hanging across the door. The hinges are rusty and creak in the wind. When I am in bed, I lie and I listen. I'll open that door one day. So here children, you already know what a shed is it? A shed is a temporary structure built to shelter something. And it is said in the introduction itself, there are many types of shed. Now the poem opens with a description of the shed, which is at the end of the speaker's garden. The speaker is telling that there is a shed at the bottom of a garden. At the end of a garden, there is a shed with a spider's web hanging across the door. There are a lot of spider's web hanging across the door. As it's not opened by any people, there are a lot of spider's web and rusty hinges and creaking sound when wind pass through it. Hinges are rusty. Hinges means a joint. Okay, so here the writer is telling that the hinges are rusty and there is a creaking sound when wind passes through it. The speaker thinks about the scary things at the bedtime. Is it when I am in bed, I lie and I listen. I will open the door one day. And this poet has a strong desire to open the door and to see what is inside. So stanza 1, what it is described here, there is a shed at the end of the garden, and that shed, it has spider's web hanging across the door. The hinges, the joints are rusty, something which is not used for a long time. It will cover with rust, that is rusty, and creak in the wind, creaking sound. When the wind comes, there is creaking sound as the hinges are moving. When I am in bed, I lie and I listen. When the writer, the poet, is sleeping or it's bedtime, all these thoughts comes into his mind, and he assures that one day he will open that shed and see what is inside. Now stanza 2. There is a dusty old window around at the side, with 3 cracked panes of glass. I often think there is someone staring at me each time that I pass. I will peep through that window one day. So in stanza 2, the writer is telling this abandoned shed, the shed which is not used, has old dusty windows and cracked panes. The window panes are cracked. The speaker thinks that someone is staring at him each time when he passes by it. When he is passing by that side, somebody is staring at him. And that was the fear in his mind. So what is said in stanza 2? There is a dusty old window around at the side with 3 cracked panes of glass. Old windows there with broken panes of glass. And whenever the writer passes through that side, he feels that somebody is looking at him through that cracked panes of glass. Now come to stanza 3. My brother says there is a ghost in the shed who hides under the rotten floorboards, and if I ever dare to set foot inside, he'll jump out and chop off my head. But I'll take a peek one day. So in this stanza, he is more peculiar, or he is more specific about the fearful things that is coming to his mind. What is that, children? The writer's brother told him that there is a ghost who is hiding under the rotten floorboard. Under the floorboard, which is rotten. Under that there is a ghost. And it was also said that if somebody is opening that, ghost would jump out and would chop his head. So here the writer's brother, maybe he won that shed for himself. So because of that, he's creating some stories that a ghost is there, and if you're just getting inside that shed, ghost will come from the rotten floorboards. You might have seen in horror movies, right? Ghost is flying here and there. It's coming from all the, it is sitting on the chair is moving. You all might have seen such movies, right? So here the writer is trying to create such a mood by telling that if somebody is entering the shed, the ghost will come out from the rotten floorboards. And his brother also said that if you are entering, your head will be chopped. But the last line, but I will take a peek one day, that line points out to the confidence of the poet. Okay, he's telling that anyway, if the ghost is there or not, I will peek one day. I'll just see what is happening there one day. And the atmosphere, you can see that there is a spooky, scary atmosphere in the poem when you see these lines. and it's brilliantly described with the help of presence of ghost under the rotten floorboard and its action of chopping off the head if someone enters into it. So this is a poetess trying to make us scared. A spooky, scary atmosphere is created through these lines. Now come to fourth stanza, children. I know that there isn't really a ghost. My brother tells lies to keep the shed for his den. There isn't anyone staring or making strange noises, and the spider has been gone from his web. Since I don't know when, I'll go into that shed one day soon, but not just yet. So this concluding part of this poem says that speaker is well aware that there is no ghost in it. He convinces himself that his brother has told a lie to keep the shed for his own purpose. His brother has kept this shed as his own hiding place. Den means just a hiding place. Suppose when they are playing hide and seek, his brother might be hiding inside that. Okay, so anyway, for a special purpose, his brother has taken this shed as a hiding place. And the speaker also knows that nobody makes strange noise and spiders have gone from his web. And at the last line, like, since I don't know when, I'll go into that shed one day soon, but not just yet. So here the speaker seems determined. He is determined to go into that shed one day. He has in his mind that there is nothing scary inside the shed. It's all very normal things. So the speaker has gained confidence, and he decided that he will step into the shed one day. The speaker was not ready to go into it right now. Okay, he's not ready to just inspect it in this moment. Immediately, he's not ready to step into the shed. But one day, he would certainly go inside that. And these lines show that he was very curious to find out what is inside that shed. And at the same time, you can also find a bit fearness through these lines. Okay, so what is said here? I know that there isn't really a ghost. My brother tells lies to keep the shed for his den. There isn't anyone staring or making strange noises, and the spider has been gone from his web. Since I don't know when, I'll go into the shed one day soon, but not just yet. So you can see a kind of conflict or tension, and there is clear conflict in the mind of the speaker between what he thinks and what he wants and what his brother has told about the shed and the ghost. So here the writer is also trying to point out the psychology of a child to try to understand, analyze the information received from others. Okay. So here the writer is telling that there will be a lot of stories or the traditional stories related to ghost, or maybe some other created stories about supernatural power. So we believe what we hear from others, is it? So that's what the writer is trying to point out through this poem, The Shed. So once again, let's summarize. There is a shed at the bottom of a garden with a spider's web hanging across the door. The hinges are rusty and creak in the wind. When I'm in bed, I lie and I listen. I'll open the door one day. Describes the spider's web and rusty hinges, creaking sound when wind passes through it, and the speaker thinks about the scary things at the bedtime, and he has a strong desire to open the door. In stanza 2, there is a dusty old window rounded that side with 3 cracked panes of glass. I often think there is someone staring at me each time that I pass. I'll peep through that window one day. So this stanza points out that the shed has only some dusty windows and cracked panes. And it also says that the speaker feels someone is staring at him each time when he is passing. And a sort of fear is always there in the mind of the speaker. Stanza 3. My brother says there is a ghost in the shed who hides under the rotten floorboards, and if I ever dare to step foot inside, he'll jump out and chop off my head. But I'll take a peek one day. So stanza 3 clearly says these fearful things went into the mind of the speaker about his brother, what his brother has told about the ghost who hides under the rotten floorboard. Then he was also told that if he's getting into the shed, the ghost would jump out and chop his head. Now the final stanza. I know that there isn't really a ghost. My brother tells lies to keep the shed for his den. There isn't anyone staring or making strange noises, and the spider has been gone from his web. Since I don't know when, I'll go into the shed one day soon, but not just yet. So the concluding part, this final stanza says that the speaker knows there is no ghost in it, and he convinces himself that his brother has told a lie. Then he is planning to visit that shed one day, but not immediately. Okay, children, so hope you all understood the poem. Thank you.